Okay, so here's the quick video to review from quiz 1. This is the first half of quiz 1, 1.1, and then we'll do the second half of quiz 1, 1.2 in the next video. All right, so let's start it off. Problem number 1. Given that f of x equals x squared plus k, where k is constant, just any number, and f of negative 3 equals negative 5, what is the value of k? Okay, this is really testing. Do you understand that f of x equals some number, any number, okay? Like, do you understand what f of x is when it equals some number, let's say negative 5, okay? So, and you're like, this was almost the first day of notes. We had the whole thing f of x is our y. That's our output. And then the x is the x, okay? So there's our x and y all wrapped up in one. Okay, so what does that mean in this? So f of negative 3 equals negative 5. That means the x is negative 3, and the y is negative 5, right? See how the entire f of negative 3, just like over here, equals negative 5? Okay, so your x is negative 3, and your y is negative 5. So when you see the whole f of something equals something else, that tells you y is that other thing. The output of the input negative 3, when we input negative 3, the output is negative 5. Okay, so can you connect input and output in that? That's all it's saying. So now it's saying f of x equals x squared plus k. Well, our x is negative 3, so f of negative 3 equals negative 3 squared plus k. We don't know k, that's what we're solving for. That's our input. Well, when we plug in negative 3 into f, the function, we get out negative 5. So then when we plug in negative 3, we get out negative 5. So the function should equal negative 5. We get negative 5 equals 9 plus k. Subtract 9. K equals negative 14. Okay, there is number 1. Okay, number 2 is piecewise function. So piecewise function takes the form of a function name, g of x equals, and then we got those curly braces, and there's 3 different pieces, okay? What this means, these little, if x is this, if x is this, if x is this, these are the ranges that determine which piece we should go in, okay? So if x is less than 0, negative 5, negative 6, whatever, then we're going to use this piece right here. If x is between 0 and 3, so if x is 1, 2, 3, we'll use this piece right here, and then if x is greater than 3, literally any number could be 500. Use that piece, okay? So, but if you remember, those are the graphs that look like this and this and this, right? And there's some open circles sometimes and some closed circles sometimes, and they connect all the way through. So, all right, look at part A here, g of 1. All right, well, let's look at 1. So if x is 1, where are we at? Which range? Is 1 less than or equal to 0? No. Is 1 in between 0 and 3? Yep. Okay, so that tells us we're going to be in this, using this piece right here, x squared divided by 3 plus 1. Okay, and then we just plug in like we did in the first part. So x squared divided by 3 plus 1. Okay, now we're going to plug x is 1 into there, so equals 1 squared all over 3 plus 1, which equals 1/3 plus 1, or we could rewrite 1 as 3/3, and we get 4/3. Okay, if you use decimal, that's fine as well. Okay, I'm going to pause it. Go ahead and try B and C. If you didn't get a chance to do all these, try B and C on your own. Okay, let the video run for 5 seconds so you can pause it and come back. Okay, and here is the work and answers for part B and C. All right, there we go. With the magic of computing, it appears. Alrighty. Okay, so hopefully we are good on problem number 2. If anytime you got questions, just pause it and shoot me a quick email, or if you're in class, ask me. Let's move on to number 3. So we've got 2 functions, f in red, g in blue, and which value has greater given their input? So remember, f of x. So x is the input, the f is the output. So the f of x is the output. So when the input is 6 for the function f, okay, so x is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the output or the y value for f is all the way up here at 10. Okay, so when you plug in 6 for f, you get 10. And then for g, when g is 2, the input value is 2. We got to go to the blue one because this is talking about g here. We get 6, 2 comma 6. So clearly f is greater because it has a value of 10, or g has a value of 6. Boom, there we go. Okay, so which of these cause these two equations to be true? That means the outputs, the y values of the equations, right? Remember, f of x and g of x are the outputs. So for the given, it's the same input x, when is the outputs true? Okay, so all you have to look at is when do they meet, when do they match each other, right? Okay, so you look here, those are poorly drawn, but here, at those intersections in black here, right? Okay, so you could say when x equals 2.5 and 10.5, you could put it as coordinate points, 2.5, 5.5. I accepted either way on this answer, negative 2.5. Okay. That's when they equal each other. Okay, now in this last part C, what intervals is f of x greater than g of x? I'm just going to clear our board here real quick. There we go. Okay, so now all it's asking is, there we go, do this one in green. When is this function f greater than, so above this function g? So you literally just physically look and say, here's g, right? When is f above g? Well, it's got to be just that part, right? And that's it. That's when f is greater than g, okay? And now, but what you say, on what interval? Well, we can see what the x value is when that happens. And, oh, it looks like it's actually between 2.5 is less than x and is less than 10.5. Okay, so how did I come up with that range? That's actually when they intersect, right? So f is above it, all in here, right? And below it, come on, there we go. Below it, anytime we're down here, let's do this in blue. Blue's no good. Down here in yellow, anytime we're down here, it's below it, right? And so those x values are out here and out here. Okay, so we just pick the x values. When f is greater, it goes from there to there. All right, moving on. Okay, I'm gonna run through this kind of quick because a lot of this is review. This question was tricky. The x-intercept, so where do we cross the x-axis? We got 2 points right there. Looking for you to write coordinate points on this one. Negative 0.8 comma 0 and 2.8 comma 0. Okay, y-intercept, where do we cross the y-axis? X is 0, y is 2. Remember, for x-intercepts, it's when the y value is equal to 0. And for the y-intercept, it's when the x value is equal to 0. Okay, intervals of increasing or decreasing. So this is looking, if you read the graph left to right, okay, this is looking starting at the very left, right? Okay, when is the graph increasing? So we're reading it going this way. When is the graph going up or getting larger during that range? Okay, well, it's a bit of an intuitive check. It's going from down here, and it's up, boop, all the way to that point right there. Okay, so it increases all the way from negative infinity. Since there's an arrow down here, it's gonna always be increasing up until it gets to that point 1. Okay, and actually let me erase all those little dots. Sorry. Okay, let's just do this. Negative infinity, comma 1. Okay. Next up, when is it decreasing? Well, after that point 1, then it starts to fall, and so it goes from 1 to infinity, decreasing lower and lower. Okay. Where am I getting these values of 1? These are the x values. Okay. These are the x values along the x-axis here. All right. Intervals of positive values. So positive values, guys, literally just means when is it above 0? Okay. And so it seems like this whole thing. Okay. All right, so actually, it's in between the x-intercepts. It's always above 0 in between the x-intercepts here. So I would say we would go from negative 0.8 is less than x, which is less than 2.8. Okay. That's our interval notation. You can also write it as coordinate points, but I prefer interval notation like this. So I'll go ahead and practice that. And then the intervals of negative, we'll do here in green. That's these parts when they're below, okay? And so that's like it's gonna stay below forever. So negative infinity is less than x, which goes up to negative 0.8. So that covers all of this, right? All of this is gonna be negative. Then it's positive, so there's the break, so we can just write and now again, it's negative on this side, all the way going this way. So that would be 2.8 is less than x, which is less than infinity. Okay, so that's covering that region there. All right, now end behavior. So end behavior is important, guys, because there's an important way to write it, okay? And we have to write it as this. As x goes to negative infinity, okay? And as x goes to infinity. Okay, so think about this. As x, let's start in the center. As x goes all the way out here to negative infinity, what's happening to our y values? Well, it's fun to kind of just draw like this, right? We can just keep drawing like that. What happens to those y values, right? They keep going all the way down to, there we go. They keep going down to negative infinity. Okay? And now when x keeps going to positive infinity, where do those y values go? Okay, all the way down again to negative infinity. So this notation is important here for end behavior. How do you write it? You kind of have to remember that style. All right, almost done here, guys, with the first half of the quiz. So relative maxima means, do you have any maximum points? Nothing's higher than that point at, you could write y equals 3, or you could write 0, 3. It's up to you. Okay, and relative minima is, do we have any minimum points, nothing lower than it? Well, no, we go down to negative infinity. You can't really get a lowest point, so you can just say none. All right, and last but not least, the line of symmetry. So where does this have a reflection? Okay, when x equals 1, there's a nice reflection of that graph over that line. All righty, there you go. These type of problems, guys, we'll do more. You can find a lot of examples online too, because these are kind of classic algebra.